Gentlemen, our next session is a truly special one. One wherein a fellow Indian is actually changing the rules of the game and actually pushing the envelope when it comes to taking India to the world. Our next speaker, Vipul Agrawal, is a visionary founder of Mugafi, a cutting edge platform transforming the way stories are discovered, developed, and monetized. With a deep passion for technology and storytelling, Vipul has built Mugafi as a creative ecosystem that empowers writers, creators, and brands to bring compelling narratives to life. His own entrepreneurial journey reflects a rare blend of innovation, strategic thinking, and an unwavering commitment to nurturing creative talent, positioning Mugafi as a rising force in the global entertainment and content landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Vipul Agarwal.
Okay, slide it. Hi everyone. अपनी height से match करता हूँ. Hello. We have a good enough audience. Thanks, Sanjay. Sanjay somehow knows how to speak so much about any person in the room. He can, like his presentation about me is gonna be larger than my presentation about Mugafi. But today, what I want to talk about is not what we are doing at Mugafi, but also how the world is changing, how we are seeing the new AI, Web3 impacting the world, and what we're going to see in the next 10, 20, or 50 years in the world of entertainment. And before we start, the couple of things, like if you look back in 1700s, we all had our own folklores, you know, this Ramayana, Mahabharata, all those Jewish stories that we had. And the medium was the oral medium. We go home and then our parents used to tell the stories to us. And then 1800 came when a lot of these authors, because writing became a very new phenomenon at that time, they started writing, and we have seen the IPs like a Sherlock Holmes and all those IPs being written by these authors, and this era was completely known as the author-owned IP. Now in 1900, that comic, it got a new transformation in the form of comics, and we have seen the Marvels happening, we have seen the Star Wars happening, and all these IPs become a corporate-owned IPs, where the corporate have started making a money around these IPs and how these IPs could be $100 billion, $150 billion IP. And today, if you know the Pokemon, they had generated $149 billion in total, you know. And now we come in this era where we have a AI, where we have a Web3. So the question is what we're going to see in this era, how the story is going to be like this. And our thesis and what we are seeing in the world is that in this next 100-year journey, we're going to see a lot of community-owned IP, where we're going to see the people owning the IP instead of the corporates, how we all come up together and create something that we like and that we want to engage with. So that's the first thought. The storytelling is changing. The way we learn the stories, the way we know about the stories, and the way we're going to get inspired from them, all going to be in the new medium, new ways. And second thing which is happening in the world of AI, it all is making us a lot productive, which gives us infinite amount of time to spend with. And all that time is going into entertainment, travel, and the third largest growing category is drugs. So over here, we're going to talk about entertainment. You're sitting at home. You all have an infinite time. The easiest thing that you can spend your time is entertainment. And that's why you're going to see a lot of new universe, a lot of new stories which are going to come out, and a lot of new consumers who are going to consume them differently. Now, just one question before we start, that how much of the entire world revenue comes from a franchise IP in terms of percentage? Do anyone have a number? 85. So 85% of the world box office revenue is not out of the independent movies, but out of the franchise, which are owned, which have a sequel, which have a character, which are known in any form. And that's what we do. At Mugafi, our belief is that we can recreate these universe by using all this new technology and creating something that people can own, people can like, and generate the next Marvels-led IP or Marvels-level IP from India to the globe. Yeah. And why this shift now, which I obviously talk about? One is AI is reshaping creation, community demand ownership. Like if you look at in last 30, 50 years about Marvels, or any other big IP like DC, Star Wars, you see a lot of people make a YouTube videos, and they do not have any incentive to do so, apart from the fact that they're going to get more views. But think of those people owning a certain part of these IPs. You know what can happen? They can go mad about it, and they can post insane about it, and you get a free marketing. And third, we haven't touched the large banker stories that we have just in India. Like, we hardly have touched those, like, apart from Ramayana and Mahabharata, which is out. There are millions of stories which lies with us. There are millions of characters that lies with us. And none of those characters have been explored in the new format that the Gen Zs, whom we call today, would like to interact with. So this is where we talk about that how Marvel's built it, or how the last 100 years have been, and how the next 100 years going to be. So one, in the last 100 years, and how they also cracked it. In our case, whenever you put a money, like large money behind building any movie, the question is whether this movie gonna work on a box office or not. And they have cracked it by doing the comics first model, where we have a lot of comics out in the market, a lot of fans were out there. So you know that there's certain demand of the content exists. In a similar way today, we built a lot of tech which can help us identify what the community is lacking, what the culture is craving for, and what the next IP could be built from India to the world. So that's the opportunity to build a new entire operating system to create the IPs, not like it had been done in the past ever before, but something that's going to use all the technology that exists today and make it cheaper, better, and increase our success rate across from box office to the OTT world that where we publish it. So I just quickly jump. And then I'm now going to talk about a couple of things that we've already done. And one, this is a recent success that we found where we talk about how a community can own the IPs. We have launched a couple of our movies out in the world before it even went into production and asked people that whether we want to invest in them. In last 1 month, we've been able to get around $1 million investing in these movies. And our next movie is completely funded on crypto. So the entire financing that we bring today for the IPs at Mugafi is coming out of the crypto world. And these people exist all across the world. They are not from India. They are not from Southeast Asia. Not that they need to know what IPs we are talking about, but they are from everywhere, like more than 43 countries where the people are participate from. So how the IP factory model going to look like? And so instead of just focusing on tapping into films or tapping into comics, we basically pick one universe and tap across multiple mediums. It goes from comics, it goes from launching the NFTs, by which inviting these characters, inviting these creators to come first or community to come first and invest in them, produce some movies around it, and not just that, keep a real-life podcast which inspire a lot of people to come and get a lot of new stories from. And all this we have been built already. So if you go on Mugafi today, you have this platform live called Ved. Ved is basically a writing assistant. So if you go 3-4, like in 1700s, 1800s, we all were a core storytellers. We all have a story with us. But there are rare chance that we all are also a screenwriter, a script writer, which is actually a proper skill to have. But a story is with everyone. So the question is that, can you guys come with your story on our platform and convert your story into a screenplay, comic, book, while keeping your story original, but leaving all the skills on the AI? So we don't use AI to create new ideas. We use AI to inspire the people who have the ideas and convert those ideas into a proper medium, which could be anything. Till date, more than 20,000 writers from more than 40 countries been using the platform, have created 30,000 plus stories over here. And we have produced more than 200 shows across multiple formats. And a couple of movies been out yet, and then new movies coming on this month itself. We are releasing a new movie from Mugafi. Second, we have launched this product called Pulse. Pulse is today used by 20 plus studios across India, MENA, and US. What it does that it allows us to identify the quality of a script, check whether it's have a culture potential, culture match or not. Also gives you an idea of the actor-character mapping. You know, how does the actor gonna relate with this character or not? Plus gives you a potential box office. So anything which we all have been doing offline by talking to audience, by learning from them, whether they're gonna like this poster, whether they're gonna like this movie, whether PR they're interacting with. We have picked all those 100 plus points and built a 50 plus page report on any script before even going into production. And lastly, this launchpad, which I just shown, where all these IPs which are approved at Mugafi, approved through Wave and Pulse, goes on this launchpad and allow audience to invest in them. And that's a third layer of identification, that if we get $1 million, $2 million from the audience, it means the audience are liking it. It means there is a big market, and it means we can go ahead and produce these IPs. So that's our operating system. Like Wave creates, Pulse identifies where the quality of the stories are good. On Launchpad, we fund it. Then we test on the smaller IPs like comics, and then we eventually go ahead and make a movies out of it. So all of the IPs that we do today at Mugafi are converted into universe, and we're going to show you a couple of universe. So one, you can go on moxstudios.com and check Mox. Mox is our sort of a new Marvel sort of comics, what we call it. We've been able to pull in a great team from ex-Marvels, ex-Star Wars, ex-Fantastic Fours, who've been developing these character stories with us. The comics are right now out on Kickstarter and will be in India, available in India in the month of March. And the new universe we've been developing is Mugafi Defense Universe, which we are announcing the comics in the month of February again. So yeah, that's what we've been doing at Mugafi. That's what we feel the world is going towards. And yeah, I'm just going to keep it quick and would love to take some questions if you have. Yeah.
So before I open up, firstly, thank you for that. Thank you for really speeding up the process on what all Mugafi is doing. Please have a seat. I've had the good fortune of interacting with Vipul earlier. I have a little more insight into everything that he is doing. For many of you who don't know, Vipul and Mugafi actually presented Kubera, which is one of the highest openers in the Telugu film industry. It was a wonderful film that starred a whole bunch of heavyweights and made a lot of money for you as well, hopefully. And Vipul also has another Marathi film coming out very soon. But on the 30th of Jan. All the best for that. My first question for you in terms of Mugafi, you're at the precipice of creating content. At the same time, you rely heavily on the world or the architecture of AI. How challenging is it to go to a filmmaker and pitch the idea?
I think 6 years before it was a lot challenging when we started. First 2 years, no one was supposedly talking to us. And then I'm sitting here. So it's hard to make our inroads, but I think you also have to do two things. One, let people know that tech is coming. So the more we're gonna oppose it, it's gonna be our loss. And that's what's been happening in India for a very long time, that we are sort of the last person to start and last entrant into the tech. And that put us a lot of I would say years backward. And second thing is that it's happening across the globe, people are using the tech. So instead of not using it, we can try to find how to make it better. Don't come as a threat to the industry, come as what you bring in the industry. So I think these two learnings which I had in the early days, which helped me make inroads. Otherwise,
no, the reason I also asked that question is because, funny enough, you're pretty much one of the only companies that has some really outstanding collaborators. I mean, you only named a few of them with regards to former Marvel executives and DC executives and the works. But also from an Indian lens, there's a lot of both supporters in terms of investors as well as collaborators that you're working with. So hence I asked that question of saying, how easy was it? I mean, what was the pitch to them that convinced them?
I think persistence. So everyone, all of these people who invested eventually, if you go in there, check their WhatsApp chat with me, I have 200 message and they have a one reply, okay. Then I have a 200 message, then they have one reply, and eventually they said, okay, if he's changing so much, let's meet for 15 minutes. And then if I sit face to face, then I think God have been kind to me.
The other aspect which you very briefly touched about is the tokenization piece that you're working on. If you could just share with the audience in terms of what exactly does it mean and how exactly do you see the impact happening from a content lens, because it's really a game changer in terms of not only how you raise capital, but also the possibilities, because then the extent of the money that it can possibly raise for something that desperately and passionately want to be able to tell is very interesting. Budget is no problem then.
So, multiple things. One, you have to look at the IPs differently. And
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there. Just before that, because there are a bunch of students also in the room, if you could just tell them what exactly do we mean by tokenization as well.
so I think, okay, I'll talk like this. So all of us today have a very simple, like if we have to invest our money, there are three places which are available. One is the stock market, which we all know and go and trade on. Second is a real estate, which we can buy. And after the recent regulation of REIT, you can buy also a piece of land, a very small piece of land. And third is a commodities like gold, silver, etc. But if you look at the world's entire assets, these are just 4 to 5% of it. 95% of the assets which are like owning a ship that transport the goods, owning a part of movies, or all these things are not accessible to the audience. They are largely accessible to the PEs or the family offices across the globe who owns a large sum of money, take these bets, but also these are the places which are the highest ROI in some form. So all these assets are sits at 40%, 50%, 70% ROI too. So what Web3 largely does in a very simple form is try to bring these assets to a normal audience, day-to-day audience, so that we can also invest in those ships in some form, in those BlackRock assets of some form, in a movie of some form. Like tomorrow, when a Disney have to create a next Iron Man sequel or Avenger sequel, they make a deck and go to a lot of family offices and raise money from them. They don't touch their balance sheet largely. So can they, instead of raising from there, can they raise the money on our launch pad through the fans? So that's what it does. So larger idea is to build an IP as an asset class, something which is of 6 trillion worth right now, something which is away from a common man, and bring it to light so that we all can be the part of it. So that's what tokenization is, or not tokenized, that's what DeFi is, which is a decentralized financing. So financing, everyone knows, like when you're financing things, a decentralized financing is that bring the financing to a common man. So that's what we are doing today at Mugafi. So this is not tokenization something.
And as a common man, what do I get? Like, do I take equity into something or do I get money back?
So completely up to you. So we provide both options. We build a separate pool with the APYs. APYs, I mean a fixed interest, where you have an interest on your money, and then you also have a percentage based on how much you're putting in. So it's your call whether you have a confidence in the content you want to do as a equity partner, or you have a confidence in the company and you just want to come as a lender.
Fair. Then I'll move on to the next part. And again, you briefly touched on that, which is the Moksha and the defense universe. That's extremely exciting, especially from a transmedia lens. Sure.
On the three,
Can we get a mic here, please?
the question that I had is, you said that you have tech to also express how you can rate or look at the revenue that you can form. I'd like to know a little more about this because, like we have in the film industry, we have Box Office India and we have a couple of other things that keep a track of what numbers have actually done, genre-wise, actor-wise, region-wise, all of that. I'd like to understand how is it that you're tabulating this particular segment of yours?
The tool called Pulse, and see the large idea, there are more than 100 data points that we've been picked, and these ranges from the fact that what's trending today on a YouTube or a TikTok of the world when you go outside India, or an Instagram of the world. So what the consumers are seeking for. Second, if your concept that you have written, how does it verify or match with the content that's already there in the market in some form available? Third is we also match it with any similarity across any language across the globe where the movie's been out and how those movies have performed. Also, you will get to know that your movie is 40% similar to this, 70% similar to this. So in a lot of cases, a lot of these people, what they get to know after the Pulse report, and they go out and start taking the rights also, because then it becomes a different issue altogether. Then there is a culture significance. You know, if you are doing a movie on, let's say, Shivaji Maharaj, for in our case, so we know that where all the patches are based on our metadata, based on our YouTube data, and then we know the marketing have to happen in that particular segment. So there are more than 100 such points that we take care of. And last 6 years of our journey, what we have done, we also have set up this lab with Whistling Woods in India particularly. So, but we got more than 2 million stories, screenplays across the world, and in different languages, be it in Arabic, be it in Korean, be it in Japanese, be it in Indian language, a Haryanvi or Rajasthani or Marathi, to train this one. So it's a product of like 5-6 years, and we are still there. We still keep on improving every day. So every day more people write on it. The more it learns, the more it behaves.
Sorry, I want.
Yeah, it's built in-house. So yeah. So the foundation we use for someone else, but then we build
So
the entire model on Llama 3 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you are doing the training. Your team
Yeah.
is
So
doing.
our 50% of our team is tech only.
All right. Wow.
So we're tech first. So that's how we call it. Like there are IP tech companies, or how we present us
All
across.
right. Super. Thank you.
So I want to go back to Moksh and the defense universe, because it's a very interesting conversation when it comes to the transmedia aspect. And over day one and day two, we've had a whole bunch of conversations. One of the most interesting aspects is we keep going back to one particular topic, which is community and fan engagement. How does that work in a Mugafi lens? Because technically, you're also building communities from ground up. The moment you have the tokenization, the DeFi piece, or the moment you have Ved, which is a writing tool which is essentially comprised of a bunch of writers who want to use that tool, you've already started building communities. What is the thought process like, and what is the where do you see the end goal in terms of monetization?
So monetization process is more or less same, but community is something which gets a add-on on day one. So we tap in the same community from a different lens. For example, if we talk about a defense universe particularly, so how we started is that in last 3-4 months, we invited a lot of ex-army, ex-raw officers and did infinite number of podcasts, which are yet to go out. But we built a large library, and that gives us a lot of content, obviously, to learn from, but at the same time, a good set of people who are watching that. And all of these people, we know that because they are watching this podcast, are pretty much those fans who are going to like those action movie or a war drama. And all these movies eventually, public eventually converts into our community. So we have a different channels, like a Discord channels for a comic audience, a different channel for a Web3 audience. So we have started building community in different forms. So the whole idea is to where all you want to find them organically, so that they have their own inspiration to come and join. And we found podcast as one medium. We do a lot of AMAs on Twitter. That's another medium to us. Then the people who are investing, they all eventually are very supportive. They all came to the platform. And then these referral things, resharing things. So I think in this particular year, if you see the top 3 most rated social platforms, that's going to be, these are Discord channels, these are Reddit, and these are WhatsApp group. They are not meta anymore. So the question is, you have to be there, and community is the core of how the next few years going to span. So we have started building it, so have an early mover advantage. But yeah, that's more or less the answers.
Does anyone else have any questions? Because I'm maxed out on mine. We get a mic.
Yeah. No, I have one. So I'm super curious about your screenplay evaluation software that you mentioned, because I feel like somewhere there's a struggle for a human who reads a script or a text, to imagine what the director's or the writer's vision is sometimes. And often they pass on projects that become huge later. And when many humans struggle with kind of that transmission, how do you think AI fills that gap? How does AI know, or where do you think the strength is for AI to know the potential? Because again, you talked about numbers being informed by content that's out there or stuff that is trending or popular. But often new, fresh content that is completely unrelated to what's out there suddenly does so well. So how do these metrics feed into your AI model, and what is it like, and what is this like success of it? As in, is there anything that you fed into it that has done well or not well based on what AI has said? How does it work? Yeah, that's what I'd like to know.
So all the stories that get written today at Mugafi eventually goes through this. So we have a both model, like the system that we know not going to work out, and the system that we know have to be worked out and eventually worked out. So the two things, when we all are reading a story, we all have our own bias. And then we read a story with our own bias, that whether we know it's going to work or not. But while the AI is doing all the analysis, there's no bias around it. It's largely talk about the fact that is it a good in terms of quality of writing? Is it good in terms of, is it not copied from somewhere? Is it, if you're writing for an Indian market, is it a culturally fit or not? Does the audience have that taste, eyes, views or towards that sort of content or not? So all those sort of data points that we pick, and we're again not 100% accurate. We are there, like we are 70-75% accurate in most of the cases. And with more and more learning, with more and more data, I think we'll reach to a point where we can take, today at Mugafi, we take all your calls based on that. We even do a change of dialogues, change of scenes, improvisation of characters based on how a report says it. And we take it very seriously.
So do you do that for other companies that approach you?
A lot of studios, more than 20 studios use it. So it's basically out live. You go on mugafi.com/pulse.
Okay.
The first script is free for everyone. Second onwards, there's it's a paid SaaS. So anyone can run it, actually. Yeah. Both Ved and Pulse, both are in-house models.
Ashish sir.
So one question is that what all does it predict in the script?
So it's almost a 50-55 page report. It starts from breaking down the log line. First, identification that where all there is any sort of similarity exists in any language across the world which have been out. Then it goes on every page, identify the plot, if there's issues in the plot, break down the characters for you, talk about the characters' importance, where the characters have been positioned in a right manner or not. Eventually goes on dialogues also, tell you that whether dialogue is impactful, how can you make it more impactful, then goes on a marketability, how to market it, whether it's a OTT potential, whether it's a box office potential. So it's a long
And the
report.
engine is trained over how many scripts like this?
I say more than 20 lakh scripts. It's not scripts, stories plus scripts. Around 5,000 scripts, rest is stories. And this in different languages, not just in Indian or English, but across all the languages that we've been tied up with.
Okay, my second question to you is, in your presentation you talked about the last 100 years and the next 100 years. So how are you so sure about the next 100 years is what I want to know.
So, see, basically why the comics been formed? Because the good part is that all these content have been started in 1820s, 1920s, and we are
No,
at
last
2020s.
100 years is fine.
So
My question is not about last 100 years.
Look at the last 20 years.
I'm talking about the next 100 years, what you said.
Yeah.
How can you predict about the next 100 years is what my question
See,
is.
the only way prediction happens when you see the past and you see how the past been changed. So that's what I'm talking. Between when 1920s, 25, when comics started, building as a characters, comic have already started coming in the trend. Similarly, in this era, when we are starting with the AI-led thing, we already have seen AI and Web3 have been in trend in the last 25 years.
It doesn't relate to the
Yeah,
past
you might be
100
wrong.
years.
See, again, a lot of people have their own thesis. So we are working on our hypothesis. We might be wrong. We'll get to know. But if you don't work on a hypothesis, how will you experiment and build something new?
No, because we are building universities, we are building a lot of things. And when you prepare people for the next generations to come up, your no university or no education is foolproof that you actually can tell them that this is what is going to happen in the next 5 years. Even 5 years before, you didn't know anything about what's going to happen right now. And even in 2019, people didn't know what's going to come in 2020, except for a couple of reports that we have seen later on that somebody had said that there will be a biological warfare and all. The issue is that when you are saying this on platform, has to be supported with the right kind of genesis for that. And I think I want to understand that. Because if you can do that, then, we are setting up a lot of universities. We can get Mugafi plugged in.
I think anyways you and Mugafi should talk.
No, we always talk. We are in touch for a long time. That's not that. But I'm saying, next 100 years is a big statement. No filmmaker knows how the film is going to do on the box office on the Friday.
उम्मीद सब लेके आते हैं.
नहीं, उम्मीद की बात नहीं है भाई. मैं तुमको ये बोल रहा हूँ कि when you say something like this, you need to back it up.
Yeah, so I bring out a lot of points. So one, we started 5 years ago. So we had that thesis, we had that insight that AI gonna impact.
Because the product, that Pulse that you're talking about,
Yeah.
was first created by a Chinese guy in Toronto, in a university called London University, 100 kilometers from Toronto city. We invited him in India in 2014. and he presented it into IFI Goa itself, the same model that you're talking about, and that was trained at that time. It was trained with 5,000 scripts, and they could give you a prediction if you change a father-son relationship to a father-daughter relationship, the film might do well, and all these kind of things. I want to know how different and how predictive can we do? Can we create the case studies which we can use with the new age filmmakers? How can we actually become more more sure about what we are actually doing?
The only way right now is to where you start using it. You use it for a couple of times, you'll get to know the accurate. That's how we have done it. In last 2 years.
No, I would have loved if you if 20 studios are using it.
Yeah.
If you would present in the next time that we get
we
a case study
see,
of.
again, we can't put a lot of names
I'm
in the scripts
saying,
over here, but
I'm saying
I can personally send you a lot of scripts to.
No, you don't have to send me a lot of scripts. I want to see a case study, and audience would like to see a case study that this was what was brought in, this is what it went through, this is what the change happened, and this is what it was released, and this is where the success lies.
Yeah.
If you can do any case study like this, I think it will be
for your college, I'll do
building credibility for the Pulse as a ecosystem.
For your college, I'll do it. I'll come with a case study.
Sure.
Then I want to go back to what Ashish ji was saying, and the session prior to that, we had a speaker here called Tarana, who's worked on a very interesting film. Oh, hello, hi. Who's worked on a very interesting film called Humans in the Loop. Humans in the Loop essentially talks about AI data labeling, and goes back to what Sir's question earlier also was. What is the process at Mugafi in terms of, because it is AI, right, and AI needs to be trained. What is the training process at your end for A to be creating these predictability models? At the same time, and I go back to the film, it has a very simple example without giving any spoilers, and I'm sorry if I'm giving any spoilers. Essentially, a particular thing is labeled wrong. And the main protagonist in the film says, no, it's wrong, right? But there's no way that I cannot give a spoiler. Perfect. So there is a pest in the film, and she says, but it's not a pest, right? But AI has labeled it wrong. It is only through corrective action, which is a human-driven action, that is corrected in the film, and that is sort of one of the muddas of the film. When you're creating platforms that are AI-driven, one is how does the labeling work? How does the training for the AI to then do predictive text and stuff for that sort work? And two, what is that constant measure to go back and saying, okay, you know what, XYZ was an error, let us fix that so that moving forward predictability changes?
So there's no straightforward answer to that. One, we are inherently started as a R&D company. We didn't came up with the idea that we are an IP company first. We first have to be R&D company, and the larger thought was, while the world is researching on video, audio, and that's a very similar thesis of what happened with Instagram, right? Pre-Instagram era, you had a few photos that you saw, and there was some amazing photos, right? But post-Instagram, you see like millions of photos. But then where the quality goes, it goes down. And that's the same going to happen with AI. You're going to have a video, audio, all these AI new tools going to come up. And then we thought they're going to make everyone a filmmaker. But where the quality going to go? We can't toss the quality. And then we had to solve the problem with the core. And the core of everything is writing. If you really had a great writing, if you connect with the audience over there, and with the right director vision, then you're sorted, you're aligned. So instead of going after building a new video audio tool, the first thesis for us is that we have to first build a writing tool. So we have a writing to be aligned, writing to the core, and to remove the 99% of the work, which is just the content, which is not a film per se. And today also all the content being written in Mugafi, 98% we just thrash. Like at Pulse itself, we just write down and we just pick 2% and take it up. Now, when you research, and we are not a core writers, so you have to find the right research partners. And that's where in India, like a Whistling Woods comes in. The moment you go to Saudi, you have an MBC Academy comes in. So we partnered with all of these people in different languages to research with them. So they are a research arm in terms of knowledge. And then we are a tech arm, where we handle the entire tech from ML, AI to data people. So that's our job to build. So I think a lot of first couple of years been built into setting this whole piece up so we can go into a research, and after further 2 years of research we can have some product out live. And today every second month you have a new version coming out. So every 2 months you go on a Ved or a Pulse and you see a new tools and new system out and out. And that's because we have learned in those 2 months. We have got some new feedback from the partners we work with. We have got some new people who gonna came up and tell, okay, this is wrong, this is right, this is what we felt about it. And we take those very seriously. So that's the only way, you can build it up. You're gonna have a lot of mistakes in the journey, but it's about sticking around and keep building.
Does anyone else have a question? Otherwise, I'll ask one last question. 1 second, Vignesh. We have Atsuo-san here as well. And Atsuo-san gave a unbelievably amazing presentation earlier, wherein one of the biggest data points for me, having seen his presentation, was the fact that most of the IPs have a 10-year shelf life. When you're creating the defense universe for, say, defense universe and say something like Moksh, you know perhaps what your 10-year life cycle is going to be in terms of where it goes in a transmedia format, across which all platforms and what all you're doing. At Mugafi, are you already starting to think beyond the 10 years? A, second lease of life, and 2, what are the parallel extensions that you can look at?
So right now our thesis is a little different. Like the two type of IPs, one obviously which last 10 years and then get lost in the journey and maybe get revived at some point of time in some form or manner. But when we build at Mugafi, we build a 30-year cycle. And we have an exact timeline that when we have a comics going out, when we have a first movie going out, and how many movies we're going to build before we're going to end these IPs. Then we also have a few characters in mind on day one that we're going to transfer from one universe to the other universe. And in between, all of them going to be learning, right? We're going to see that which character really resonates with the audience. So then we're going to make sure that we revive that character and bring them into a new universe. But we have a universe cycle for sure. Like we are not going to run it forever. We have an end timeline. We know what's the end movie going to be. So our Moksha, what the 30-year journey is, like that's already mapped out before we start even building it.
I know most of it is proprietary information, but I am with Ashish sir when I say that we'd love to be able to see a case study or behind workings of how it happens, because it's very fascinating. Sorry, Vignesh.
Yeah, Vipul, good presentation. This is regarding your crowdfunding platform. I think it's a good initiative. So being from Web3, crypto, we known each other quite some time. So my question is something like Republic exists in the US market, where independent filmmakers and also movie studios, they raised a couple of $1 million, a lot of money. So my question is, how is that different from your platform? Second, once you get money, you need to be regulated, registered. So there, I work with Republic, so they basically registered in the US. You have Reg D and Reg S, which is predominantly focused on getting money from non-accredited investors and also accredited investors. So how are you basically tackling both? One is on the differentiation. Is it focused on the India market? And second is on the regulation side of things. When you take money, especially for the crowdfunding platform, how are you looking at the security laws and stuff? So this is my two questions.
Yeah, so I think we have the laws for that one, but the company currently registered for this is in BVI. From there, everything happens in terms of fundraise. Second, we are not directly what Republic does. They sell the share. We are not selling the shares over here. It's mostly NFTs and digital pass, which is less regulated than directly selling a share. So we do everything in that form. A lot of people might not get what I'm talking here, but then there are multiple channels in between. We route the money through different countries to ensure it converts into fiat in a most right way before it lands into a studio. Well, we'll chat about it separately, so
Thank
I'll
you.
not bore
Thank
people
you.
here.
Again,
Things
thank
that can't be discussed in an open forum.
No, it's fine. Thank you.
How other people will not even understand, so.
Any last further questions? Anyone has a question?
A couple of them, I think.
Hi, Vipul. From what I can sense, this is my first time actually learning about Mugafi. So from what I can tell, y'all seem to be a crypto crowd-funded IPO generator for any type of entertainment project that would basically come out there. So I have a few questions, around 3. do feel free to answer them. Number one, I just wanted to know why crypto. It is a really regulated form of currency. It's not really applicable across India. It's got a lot of regulation. So I just wanted to know what the real benefit of using crypto to fund the projects would be unless you use another traditional form.
Yeah, so one, see, there are two things. In the traditional form, you don't get the fans involved. And blockchain is a mechanism. We are largely dealing in stable coins. There is no token that we've been doing. So we are away from whatever the government don't like, whatever is not regulated today. But largely for two reasons. One is to get the fan involved. Second is to also get the scale. You can't get the scale in traditional as much as you can get on this platform when the entire fans are around who want to back a project. So these are two larger reasons, that's all.
Okay, that's a good amount for the scalability issue. I understand that. The second thing is, suggest, let's say I have an IP that I would want to list up on through Mugafi for another project that's coming up. Who really owns the idea if it's completely crowdfunded? Do I get to walk away with my project, or do people own a part of my what's it called?
Yeah, no, we don't do independent projects at all. And see, that's the thing. When you go to a IPO as a company, what happens that you go to a lot of regulatory channels, right? Where there are people who decide, so when can you go to IPO, when can you not. In a similar way, we have been very picky about what IPs we bring in front of the audience. So the audience also does not think that we are bringing anything and everything on the platform just because we can. So we take that very seriously. So any IP that Mugafi do not have their own interest in, we do not bring it on the platform. So first it goes through our platform like a Wait, Pulse, etc. And then our team decides whether we are coming in this IP or not. If we do, then only we, and then we plan out the entire distribution plan, where the money going to come back from, where the money going to come back or not. And on that basis, we take it on the launch pad.
Okay, that's great. One last final question. It comes down to Ved and Pulse itself. So my whole concept is the entire system built around just creating what is going to work commercially best? Or is it going to also be able to introduce new ideas and thoughts from whatever story it's been given? Such as cult classic, most cult classic films.
We don't introduce new ideas. The whole idea of this, the idea belongs to you. You are the one who are chatting with, and what AI does over here is just guide you, ask more questions, so that you can go deeper down in your brain itself and get the right idea. And eventually, in the journey, keeps telling you the originality of it, what you should take care, what you should not take care. That's more of someone asking questions from you instead of someone telling you what to write, what not to write.
Okay, understood. That's about it. Thank you.
We have time for one more question. Anybody? Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
It was really fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Can I please request Mrunal, GM ESG, to felicitate Vipul Agrawal with a small token of her appreciation? Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.